Today on Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in the Big 12 in Week 4, and that's going to be between the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Oklahoma Sooners. Big matchup for both these teams. We got West Virginia on one side. This team had a huge win over Virginia Tech last week. Virginia Tech was a top 15 team, and West Virginia played very well. As for Oklahoma, they had a big win over their former rival, Nebraska. It was kind of a close game there, but Oklahoma overall is still a very talented team, and they're definitely a college football playoff contender. So, important game for both these teams here. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. West Virginia once again beat Virginia Tech 27-21. Close game, but overall win's a win, especially in a big matchup like that. And the Mountaineers are 2-1 with a 2-game winning streak. As for the Sooners, they beat Nebraska 23-16. Close game throughout the entire matchup there. But Oklahoma, once again, is still a very talented team, and I still have a lot of hope for this Oklahoma team. I think that the Sooners are definitely, Spencer Rattler is a very talented quarterback. We've seen that. And really, this could definitely be Oklahoma's year still. It's been kind of a slow start. We've seen a couple of close games there for Oklahoma, but this could be a huge game for Oklahoma. If they can dominate West Virginia, that would be a huge statement for the Big 12 and for their college football playoff resume as well. So, but yeah, Oklahoma's 3-0, and they're also ranked 4th in the nation coming into this matchup. Game will be on Saturday, September 25th, Norman, Oklahoma, and it is in a night game, 6:30 p.m. Central Time in Oklahoma, in prime time as well. So the Sooners, they've got a night game, and this is going to be obviously, Oklahoma is a brutal place to play, especially when you get into the evening hours. So for West Virginia, that's going to be one of their bigger challenges, is having to go up against a pretty tough environment in Oklahoma. Sooners are currently favored by 16.5, so they are heavy favorites in this matchup. Over-under is 59, and the FPI is going Oklahoma 90% in this matchup. So the Sooners are heavily favored here. Series history, Oklahoma leads at 10-2. Win streak is the Sooners by 8. It's been a very long time since West Virginia has won in this matchup. Oklahoma's had a lot of success, obviously, as stated by that win streak. Oklahoma by 8. So the Sooners are pretty heavily favored in this matchup, and that's another reason why you could definitely think Oklahoma would be a big favorite in this matchup, as once again, last time Mountaineers won against Oklahoma was 2008. Here's a stat comparison for this matchup. West Virginia's got 39 points per game, 17 points allowed. They got 271 pass yards on average. They got 139 rush yards on average. And then for yards allowed, 205 passing, 100 rushing. So overall, West Virginia, there's a lot to like here. Jared Dahey, their quarterback, has played decently. He looked pretty good last week against West Virginia. And overall, this rushing core is also somewhat talented, but this is mainly a passing offense with West Virginia. Their rush defense is also pretty impressive, with only 100 rush yards allowed so far this season, which obviously we're still in the early parts of the season, so things can change, but overall it looks pretty good for the Mountaineers. Oklahoma's got 46 points per game, 17 points allowed on average, 291 pass yards on average, 195 rush yards, and for yards allowed, 236 passing, 83 rushing. So not many teams are able to rush as much as they may like to against a very talented Oklahoma defense. Once again, 83 rush yards allowed on average is a pretty small number, so Oklahoma is pretty talented there on the defensive line for sure. And if you look at Oklahoma and Nebraska last week, I'm a Nebraska fan, so I did watch that game thoroughly. My takeaways, I think Oklahoma's, Spencer Rattler, he's an extremely talented quarterback. He's not quite playing to the potential that I think he can. He definitely has got a tremendous amount of upside, and that's something that Oklahoma fans should be happy about. But he's definitely a quarterback that I think can lead a team to a national championship, and that's huge for Oklahoma. Oklahoma's had several great quarterbacks in the past, and there's no doubt in my mind Spencer Rattler is another one. But defensively, Oklahoma, their passing defense wasn't very good last week against the Cornhuskers. Nebraska, they could not rush for the life of them against Oklahoma, but passing-wise, they did not do too bad. I think Adrian Martinez had like 260 yards against Oklahoma last week. So Sooners do got to watch out for that. The secondary definitely needs to play better if we're going to see a win for Oklahoma in this matchup. But some key points for this one, obviously West Virginia is 2-1, and they had a solid win against Virginia Tech last week. Letty Brown, running back, having a great season without a doubt. He is a big player on this offense and a very big impact player. as well. But yeah, this team should not be underestimated in West Virginia. I mean, they beat Virginia Tech, very talented Hokie team last week, and that was a very impressive win. I mean, West Virginia, I mean, they do have one loss on their record, but that was to a talented Maryland team. So overall, West Virginia is still very talented, and I think that they can definitely play Oklahoma close in this matchup. But, I mean, their offense is going to have to play very well, and they're going to have to score a lot of points to beat Oklahoma. And that's something we've seen so many times in the past with these Oklahoma teams is, I mean, you got to score a lot of points against Oklahoma if you're going to beat them. But overall, for Oklahoma, they need a dominant win here. If they're going to stay in the college football playoff picture, I mean, you got to win some dominant games here. And I think that Oklahoma, I mean, we're starting to see them slip in the rankings a bit. I think they were ranked 2 for number 1. Now they're down to number 4. Obviously, they're playing well, but this team needs a nice dominant win here. And this would be a good win. If they can beat West Virginia, a team that just came off of a pretty good win, that would be huge for Oklahoma. And quarterback Spencer Rattler, he's tough to stop. Obviously, once again, you got to score a lot of points if you're going to beat this Oklahoma offense. And rush defense is also pretty tough to beat from Oklahoma. They've got a pretty strong defensive front. And so overall, do be watching out for that in this matchup. But that being said, let's get to the prediction here. West Virginia, Oklahoma, first conference matchup for both of these teams. I'm going to go with Oklahoma here, 34-17. Not much of a surprise. I just think the Sooners, more talented team in this matchup. I got to go with them. I mean, I think West Virginia sticks around for the first half, but I think in the second half, we see the Sooners start to take off. I mean, once again, it's a night game, pretty hostile environment. I mean, Oklahoma, that place is going to be rocking. I mean, it's going to be a night game, Saturday night, prime time. Oklahoma's going to be ready to go, and I think that they get the win, 34-17. 70% towards Oklahoma, so I am pretty confident that the Sooners win a game here. If the Sooners do lose, I mean, West Virginia, I mean, that would be a pretty big statement out of the Mountaineers. I mean, losing week 1, but still, I mean, West Virginia, that just shows that they've really improved over the course of the season. But, yeah, Oklahoma, I think this Sooner team is more talented right now. I'm going to take the under as well in this matchup and go with 51 total points. But if you're into betting, I would not bet too significantly on this West Virginia-Oklahoma matchup. I could easily see it going over as well. I mean, you got two pretty good offenses here. But that being said, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the comments below on this matchup. And I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.